Slaughterhouse 5, remember, so Luke, you just got yours, so it's through page 135, chapters 1 through 5. We're going for Monday of next week. Quote quiz is what we'll be taking a look at. So moving forward, characters, just try to keep back of your mind who those folks are so that when you do see some passages, you can kind of figure out what would be going on. Your narrator, remember, is not Billy, so he's main character, so anything is certainly, again, going to be dialogue like last time. You don't have a narrator thing or anything like that, so just make sure you're focusing on what characters are actually saying when thinking about for chapters 1 through 5. Oops. There we go.
When you're reading Slaughterhouse 5, is the first chapter, is that like the author?
That's Vonnegut basically talking to you.
Because I read through that and then like it started with the actual story. I was really confused because I was like, this sounds like his like we really talked about before, and then he said like it wasn't, but that's him talking to you.
Yes. So I mean, and he never goes, "Hi, I'm Kurt Vonnegut" or anything like that. But yeah, that would be his voice. So it's not epilogue and prologue, or prologue and epilogue the same way you had with Invisible Man, where narrator was the same, but definitely separate from the story itself. So the overall word choice, syntax, style is going to be certainly different in chapter 1 compared to the rest. But he will come back. Yesterday, the goal, and certainly I was not here watching you do it, you had 2 passages, 29 questions. The goal would be about 30 minutes for how long it would take to finish. Now, again, that doesn't mean shame on you if you read 33 minutes or anything like that, or hooray, you did it in 15 minutes. That's probably a little too quick. But the goal would be about half an hour because you're going to be looking at 4 passages showing up on exam. And you're generally in that ballpark of 12 to 15 questions for each one. So passage 1, you had 14. Passage 2, I think it was 15 questions. Yeah, 15 through 29. First period said they like first one better than they like the second one. Jack's nodding up and down, even though John Cena did not make the cut for either. What do you think an AP reader is going to do when they...
What?
Get their attention at least.
Yeah.
Do you think that's one of the... Maybe. But you fought.
Yeah, I
Because
did.
you got to fight through it. Can't see me. Watch this. But the whole hope would be roughly about 15 minutes going on for each one. I'm thinking, and I'm certainly hoping, after, even if the first passage was the better one compared to the second, after poetry quizzes, after you even kind of making some of your own questions with the passages that you had, the overall, all right, what am I supposed to get done while reading and taking a look at it was a little bit smoother. Passage 1, overall synopsis, what's going on? Besides going, I am a writer. What are we dealing with? Englishes. You don't see that word show up too many times. So we got Englishes.
This lady's talking about how she feels bad that she's talking correctly in front of her mom as well.
And why doesn't mom speak quote unquote normal traditional English? I heard a lot of
She's Chinese.
Okay, so she's from China. She and Amy Tan, who is the author, she's first generation, like born in the United States. Family, both mother and father, have come from China. Now, it doesn't say anywhere on here, author is Amy Tan or anything like that, but she's a fairly well-known writer. I can't remember which class it is. If it's, I think it might be not social class warfare, elective for next year. Not female perspectives. Questioning the self. They might someone reads Joy Luck Club, and you get reference to the book in here. And so that's how you know it's Amy Tan. I want to say in like your 7th or 8th grade anthology, the big book, I think there's the story Fish Cheeks in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's Amy Tan as well. So she's a writer that some of you know I've had experience with before. Joy Luck Club is by far certainly her most popular, well-known book. So yeah, you got discussion going on about the way that she speaks, talks English, and certainly very different from the way that her mother talks, and she's kind of self-conscious of that, or at least aware of it when speaking to people and mom's in the room, and you're kind of going, wait a minute, I don't talk that way around mom. So there's certainly a little bit of a conflict that would be taking place with it. Best thing to do, again, with any of the multiple choice questions, read the passage. If you read it and you don't get it, read it again. Your chances of getting the questions correct skyrocket when you understand what you read. That doesn't mean that all the questions will necessarily make sense right off the bat, but it certainly puts you in a pretty good position to do so. Tomorrow we'll talk about clouds and contrails. Anyone like the cloud passage more?
I like it.
I think I like the cloud one, but to me the cloud one's more straightforward, but I don't know. We'll see.
Very informational.
Oh, it's a totally different style. I mean, it's much more like scientific. And the big thing with the cloud passage is you have the footnotes. And those questions in themselves, I'm generally not a big fan of. And that's no different with this one. We'll talk about those more so tomorrow. The nice thing, though, is you do see the two different kind of styles that happen. And again, you're going to have 4 passages. There's probably going to be a situation where you look at one passage as being easy, one passage where you go, this is the difficult one, and then 2 passages that are probably going to fall somewhere in the middle. I would think most of you would probably find the cloud passage in the middle. I think if you had all 4, there's probably one that you'd look at as being a little bit more difficult, but you at least get the variation. Both of these passages came from 2014 AP exam. So it's not, hey, there might be questions like this. These are College Board AP exams. That's why we cannot photocopy or reuse any part of this page. That's illegal. Of course, there's a watermark with my name right underneath it, so that was smart. Oh well, what are you gonna do? Ben's gonna turn me in now. All right, question number 1. Final sentence of the first paragraph is unusual in the way it uses a, and in first period we had the, I looked at the first sentence of the final paragraph. Rather than looking at the final sentence of the first, they did the first sentence of the final. Read the question.
Wait, who's the?
It says line 6, 7, though, so that's.
We might have part 2 repeat of this too. Abby's not sure.
Okay.
Did you do the right one?
I thought I did the first sentence, the first paragraph. I'm like, okay, there's only 4 words.
Okay, and I mean, Jack's right, you do have line numbers presented, and you hopefully should know, certainly at this point, based on the amount that you've taken and the fact that you actually even made 12 questions, they do go in chronological order, but you never know. Last night, or yesterday afternoon, Addie had homework, 3rd grade. She had to take a trip to Study Island. It's always sunny and proficient on Study Island. She was doing English once. She had a math one. She had English. Math was a piece of cake. It was mine. She was doing English. It was actually transitional words and things like that. And it looked kind of like the SAT part, where it's still the verbal, but the writing and language where they have the sentences numbered, and then you have to answer questions like which part would you change and things like this. I think her passage had 6 sentences, so they were numbered. Sentence 1, and then had the sentence 2. The first question was, what would be an appropriate transition between sentences 5 and 6? The second question is, what type of verb is used in sentence number 2? So they were going out of order, and I could certainly see kids flipping it, where, hey, I'm going to look at the first couple sentences for question 1, the second sentence for question 2, so on and so forth. So do make sure that when you're taking a look, read the whole thing. Don't necessarily expect how it's going to be worded. Make sure it matches up with what you're looking for. So take a look at the last sentence of the first paragraph. So 6 and 7 starts here, and I use them all the Englishes I grew up with. We already even commented on the word. What word's going to jump out to you as, hey, there's something a little bit different about it. If you take a look at the options, see, you can't see me. That's all you got. C. Plural noun. How about number one or number two? Function of first paragraph. We'll take a look at first paragraph, but want to get a read on it first. What do we got? Nicole, what'd you put down? D. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Jack supporting you. Uh-oh.
B.
B.
As in Bob or Bill. Or Brian
Brockway.
or Broadway.
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe.
Any others? A. All right, so overall function. Notice first part of the answers: establish, characterize, describe, define, explain. So what kind of question is this? It's purpose question. What's the purpose essentially? What's the function? What's the purpose of the first paragraph, which you folks were taking a look at? I am a writer, and by that definition, I am someone who has always loved language. I am fascinated by language in daily life. I spend a great deal of my time thinking about the power of language. We got a fair amount of I's popping up. My right there. The way it can evoke emotion, visual image, complex idea, or a simple truth. It's a tool of my trade, and I use them all the Englishes I grew up with. So there's a lot of emphasis being placed on who? We got the author, and you take a look then at the options that we have. One of them we already marked off. Characterize the author and her interests. Defining the relationship between literary language and everyday speech. You can make a case for that one when you're dealing with the passage, but within the first paragraph, that concept hasn't presented itself yet. So you want to make sure that when you see something dealing like this, where it says first paragraph, you're focusing on what does the first paragraph do, not necessarily the relationship among first paragraph, second, third, so on, so forth. Carefully wrought, line 21. There is an aspect of my fiction that relates to thus and thus, quote, a speech filled with carefully wrought grammatical phrases, burdened, it suddenly seemed to me, with nominalized forms, past perfect tenses, conditional phrases, all the forms of standard English that I learned in school and throughout and through books. So carefully wrought, most likely or most closely going to mean which two? I'm seeing some E's.
E. But I said
I'm okay with precision, but what do I have a problem with? Formless, I don't like that one. Technical mastery, craftsmanship, precision, all three of those things certainly kind of go along with it. If it's formlessness, there's not really going to be any kind of structure to it. There's not going to be really any kind of sense of continuity, which is going to go in the opposite in the form of precision. Technical mastery, craftsmanship, both of those things would align with one another. So for that one, we're going to go E.
Oh, yeah.
Two for three? Three for three? That's a 5.
Yes. Go, bro. Go, buddy.
Now this one, number 4. We would look at it as basically a pronoun antecedent question in the sense that, okay, what does burden modify? What is it going back to? Even though it's not literally a pronoun question, but it's still of that same, idea to it. The way I would suggest with this is just take a look, find out where the word is, and burdened, we're here at the end of 21 going into 22. Try to figure out on your own, without looking at the answer choices, what does burdened modify, what does it relate back to? So a speech filled with carefully wrought grammatical phrases, burdened, it suddenly seemed to me, with nominalized forms, past perfect tenses, so on and so forth. What is burdened? So we're saying, okay, speech, which we're looking here in line 20. If you then take a look at the answer choices and you see speech, line 20, what do you know? We see it there. then you want to feel pretty good about that response. That's the one you go with, and you run with. Answer's D. 4 out of 4. That's still a 5.
Yeah.
Now remember, you don't want to, and you're certainly not going to know the answers right away as you answer, ooh, I got that one right, I got that one wrong. But you don't want to keep a running tally necessarily in your head. We're going to say, hey, I got a 4 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4. I don't want someone going, I only have a 1 out of 4, I need to get the next 5 right, or I don't have a chance. You focus on one question, you move on to the next one. Short-term memory, just answer the one question. Don't worry about where it falls within the litany of all the others. Also, we're marking check marks and all that kind of stuff. Keep track of the answers in your test booklet as well as on that Scantron page. Because if you happen to make a mistake where you answer 22 instead of 21 and you don't realize that till question 48, and then you start erasing, you want to make sure that you still have the questions marked, the answers marked, so that you can correctly go back and fill them in. I don't think you're going to worry about time. Chances are you'll probably be finishing 55 minutes, so you'd still have about 5 minutes. Go back, fix anything up that you need to. All right, during the talk, described in paragraph 2, author responds to mother's presence. How so? Altering the vocabulary and syntax, regretting interests that she does not share, thinking about the audience, re-examining the themes, deciding that her mother does not need to learn academic English. Abby's hiding in her hoodie. You should do the Charles Barkley where you turn it around and keep the chips in the hood.
It's like higher up there, so it's
That just means more chips.
Then you got like grease and stuff in your hood.
That is a hard question. Do I get dip with any of these, or is it just the chip?
Yes.
No, it's my question, Mr. Kane, you get the
If I get dip where I can have sour cream and onion, I want the cheddar sour cream with like the little the wave chips, ruffles. Yes. If I don't get any dip, I think I'm going the purple Doritos. What's that? Spicy chili or yeah, that one. I like those.
So savvy in your chip.
If I don't know what the dip is, but it's really good,
Mystery dip.
I might go Fritos. Because you can basically use that with anything.
What's your middle name? You know,
Philip.
But anyways,
what's your accent?
Paul. Alright, number 5. So, what's happening? Jack, what'd you do?
I said D, I don't think it's right.
You said D? Okay.
C.
C. A.
I said B.
He said B.
Anyone go E?
No.
You'll just raise your hand anyway. Alright, how come? Like, why for any of the answers?
Ooh, that was yesterday.
Well, I think we should start with why not.
So we're looking at paragraph 2. Recently, I was made keenly aware of the different Englishes, got that word again, that I do use. I was giving a talk to a large group of people, the same talk I had already given to half a dozen other groups. The nature of the talk was about my writing, my life, and my book, The Joy Luck Club. The talk was going along well enough until I remembered one major difference that made the whole talk sound wrong. My mother was in the room, and it was perhaps the first time that she had heard me give a lengthy speech using the kind of English I have never used with her. I was saying things like the intersection of memory upon imagination and there is an aspect of my fiction that relates to thus and thus. A speech filled with carefully wrought grammatical phrases, burdened, it seemed to me, with nominalized forms, past perfect tenses, conditional phrases, all the forms of standard English that I learned in school and through books. The form of English I did not use at home with my mother.
C.
Is that what you went with initially? For A, What's the verb? Altered. What's it mean to alter? Okay. In paragraph 2, does she change how she talks by mother's presence? She recognizes she talks differently, but you only get 2 direct quotes from her, and both of them are still in that formal sense. So she recognizes that, yeah, I might speak differently around her, but altering the vocabulary and syntax she had been using to express her ideas to the group, she does not change the way that she talks to the group. She simply recognizes she does speak differently around mom, which, if she realizes that she speaks differently around mom compared to these workshops, which one of those 2 that we've now checked off makes sense? Answer would be C. Thinking about how audience determines the appropriateness of a style. I'm talking to an audience about my book. It's a workshop. You're probably dealing with fellow writers, things like that. You're going to be in a little bit more formal presentation, where if I'm talking to mom, my style is very different. Themes in her latest work, that part doesn't really get thrown in there. Deciding that her mother does not need to learn academic English. She does kind of make that point later on, but it's not something that would get described with that talk that's happening in paragraph 2. So much like number 2, you're looking at what's happening with paragraph 1, you're really focusing on that single paragraph. Number 6, now we're shifting to third paragraph. What does it provide for us here? Third paragraph, just last week I was walking down the street with my mother and I again found myself conscious of the English I was using, the English I do use with her. That first sentence kind of gives you a pretty strong indication where you might be going, because if she's talking about, hey, there was this time that I'm walking down the street with my mom, what is she using? From a literary standpoint, she has an anecdote. Now you want to make sure, does that anecdote reinforce the ideas expressed in the previous paragraphs? I speak differently around mom than I do around other people. She goes in the anecdote. We were talking about the price of new and used furniture, and I heard myself saying this, not waste money that way. Not going to be that traditional, formal, academic. So the answer is D. Make sense? How about number 7? Mom's quoted speech. So we're taking a look. Oops, that's clouds. That was confusing. So we're taking a look here, 52 going down to, I think it's line 68. What is, again, the purpose overall of trying to include that quoted speech? What is she, author, trying to accomplish? E. Okay. Heard an A. If you didn't think it was right, then why'd you mark it?
That means looking back on this place.
It's one of those 2.
Ooh, it's A.
Yeah, it's not E.
Now I think
Yeah, A. Author expects the speech is comprehensible enough to make the point about mom's use of language. So you would read the passage. We know this is coming from mom. She's hoping that you can still understand what mom is trying to get across, and that's going to certainly kind of reinforce the point that there are multiple Englishes out there, and you can certainly still have an effective conversation that is going to take place, even if it might not meet the traditional format that people would explain. 8, effective second-person pronoun. What are second-person pronouns? You, and then your would certainly be one as well. In this case, I think you is what she uses both times. Why? Doesn't happen much, just those 2 times. So line 40. So you'll have some idea what this family talk I heard sounds like. And then her last paragraph, you should know that my mother's expressive command of English belies how much she actually understands. Who's the you? How can you be us? Yeah, it's certainly going to be the audience. So what does that help kind of illustrate on her part? She understands that, hey, we're there, emphasizing her awareness of our presence. First two sentences, last paragraph. You should know that my mother's expressive command of English belies how much she actually understands. Sentence one. She reads the Forbes report, Forbes magazine, business magazine, listens to Wall Street Week, converses daily with her stockbroker, and reads all of Shirley MacLaine's books with ease. All kinds of things I can't begin to understand. If we could put in synonym for belies, what would we put? You should know that my mother's expressive command of English belies how much she actually understands. Misrepresents.
I was gonna say like
Hides. Okay. It's not what you would expect. Yeah, I think that misrepresents would be a pretty good description for it. So, first two sentences, what do? And I think the answers kind of throw people off where, well, I don't know if that's the way I would word it, for A, B, C, D, or E. If you were taking a look only, so we're not aware of everything else, only of this portion, what would be some assumptions people would make about the speaker? Okay, and it could be for various reasons. Non-native speaker, not good at it, and unfortunately, what's going to be then a follow-up assumption? If they can't speak English properly, well, then they must not be smart. But you should know her expressive command of English misrepresents how much she actually understands. Reads Forbes, listens to Wall Street Week, Shirley MacLaine, talks to her stockbroker. So those two ideas do what with one another? She presents a contrast. Sentence 1 and sentence 2 don't contrast each other, but sentence 1 and sentence 2 contrast the concept that was just presented beforehand. That's where that part kind of comes up. And essentially, she's kind of like qualifying. While it might seem that she cannot speak or kind of offering a rebuttal, she actually does understand these things. Based on the questions that you folks made, this is like an effect question. You're looking at the effect of the one paragraph with another. This presents a contrast to the idea that was simply just presented to you before. In the last paragraph, the author insists on kind of in relation to what we just had, belies how much she actually understands. You said B? The Bill, Bob, Barry. Sophistication of some of her mother's English language skills. Yeah. Her comprehension is more than what you would expect based on her expressive part. It belies what you would think. That whole misrepresentation idea taking place. Number 11, in the context of the whole passage, the last sentence, 81 to 83, that was the language that helped shape the way I saw things, expressed things, made sense of the world. E?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's
You say that for like all of them.
B.
B.
Bill.
better.
Yeah. Validates. Author uses direct quoted speech at various points in her passage. And there's basically how she speaks to her audience, and then there's how mom speaks, also how she speaks to her mom. So you are getting a variety of forms of English, and she talks about the different Englishes that she has. I think 13 is one where people kind of aren't sure what to put. What'd you put, though?
B. Because Ryan is a reliable man.
I put B.
Abby, what'd you put?
E.
You went E, B, I heard.
It's one of the above.
Overall context. So if you were simply looking at how she talks when she's at her workshops, scholarly, formal. But throughout the whole thing, it's more conversational. I think if it said conversational, people might be a little bit better with it. But it would be an informal, public voice that people can understand and follow. Central concept in the passage is the notion that, last one, B, speakers use different forms of language for different purposes. So those cutoffs, 7 out of 14 passing with 3. 9's probably like 4. And then you get up to 10's on that fence, maybe definitely 11, 12, 13, 14, you're looking at 5.
Yeah.
But I would say this hopefully should come across as a very doable passage.